Okay, it's Sunday, which means against my better judgment, it's time to go to Reddit and see what we can find in that hive of scum and villainy. So I went through ahead of time, picked out all the questions. There were not really that many this week, or at least not that many that had anything to be said about them, to be honest, because there were a few, like, well, my sensitivity, what do questions, and how do I climb with, or why can't I climb with no attached evidence other than, like, a paragraph, so might be a bit shorter this week. So, first off, when should I be fire striking? And the basic answer is whenever you don't have your ultimate, you want to fire strike as much as possible, so that you can build up Earth Shatter as quickly as possible. Now, if you think the enemy Reinhardt might have his Earth Shatter, then you don't want to be doing that all the time, because if he's just watching you, he's got Earth Shatter, and he's like, man, this guy is fire striking basically on cooldown. He can just wait for you to push your button and then go Earth Shatter. So you want to be a little bit more careful if you think he has yours. If you think he has his, rather, he has yours. That would be pretty scary, to be fair. If you think he has his, you might want to be a bit more careful. Once you have your ultimate built up, there's not much point fire striking anymore unless you think it's going to kill someone. Because at that point, you just using it on cooldown to, like, poke them is not really accomplishing much at that point. Because you've already got your ultimate, so you're just doing, like, some chip damage to them, which they're gonna heal up, and that's gonna be it. And, you know, their healers will get ult charged, so not a huge amount will be achieved from it. So, once you have yours, stop using it pretty much, unless you think it's gonna kill somebody. And be careful if you think he has his Earth Shatter. Next was, how do you rank up as a flex player? And it was, I thought I wrote down more context for that. Nope, that's for another question later on. Okay. So, yeah, the basic gist of it was, pretty much, it's really hard to carry as a flex player because you sacrifice your individual performance to try and, boost other people up, right? They're playing their role, so you're just gonna hope they do better on their roles, pretty much. And, they found they were having a lot of trouble climbing as a flex player. Because you're pretty much gambling that your teammates are gonna be good, which is, frequently not the case, but is certainly not the most consistent thing in the world. So I find what most people do when they decide they're gonna be a flex player, is they focus on playing way too many things. They're like, I'm gonna make the team comp perfect every single time by flexing to whatever the fuck. And then you just end up being kind of meh at a bunch of heroes. So if you really want to climb as a flex player, I still recommend just focusing on a core few heroes, like a couple in each category pretty much, so that you can, you know, flex to anything, but you still are putting enough practice in on specific heroes that you actually get better at them. Because if you're only, like, okay at everything, it's going to be very hard for you to ever really carry a game. And you don't want to just be at the whim of the people you randomly queued with, you know? If you're flexing as a support specifically, which is the ones that have usually got the most issue climbing, you want to basically find, like, the person on your team that's the best, and just pocket the fuck out of that guy. This guy really hates defending, by the way. He does that one a lot. You want to find the player that you think is the best in that particular game and just pocket the fuck out of them, pretty much. Like, this guy's good, so I'm just going to make it as easy as possible for this guy specifically to carry, seeing as he seems like he's going to be the best bet. And, you know, that basically means find the DPS that's, you know, out of the 3 that you've probably got, find the DPS that's least bad and hope he's going to carry you. And, you know, frequently they don't, but if you're dedicated to being a flex player, you know, it's about the best you've got, or for support specifically. And if you're very, very low rank, by which I mean like gold or silver, honestly, try to flex as little as is physically possible. And if you must flex, Try and pick the heroes that have, are very easy to play, but have a very big influence over the game all the same. For example, Winston is extremely easy to play, but he has a very big influence on the game. And people in lower ranks, they don't know how to play against Winston. They'll do all kinds of dumb shit and just, like, you can do all kinds of dumb shit, and they'll just let you get away with it because they don't know what to do, pretty much. Other examples would be, like, Moira, Bridget, D.Va. There are just heroes that are easy to play and are very good at punishing people, pretty much. So, you know, if you must flex in lower rank, try to stick to those kinds of people. This is like the longest the game ever went, by the way, in like all of history. Next up was, what are good times to switch to Zenyatta, specifically from Lucio? And, personally, I just think Zenyatta's better, in general. That's just kind of me. I just like Zenyatta a lot more than I like Lucio. But the, good times to do it are when they have, really big combo ultimates, pretty much. Like, or just ultimates like, Dragon Blade, Tac Visor, Graviton. These are all ultimates that Transcendence is really good at countering, pretty much. So, ult will be a pretty big decider, because, Lucio and Zenyatta, both their ultimates do two very different things. They're both defensive ultimates, but they both accomplish different things, because Zenyatta will stop you from getting DPS to death, but it doesn't save you from getting one-shot, right? Which is the advantage that Lucio has over Zenyatta. So if they're relying on more immediate, like, big damage, like, big burst damage ultimates like Deadeye, Self-Destruct, Pulse Bomb, Graviton Pulse Bomb is, like, their big money ultimate, so Lucio's better for his ultimate, because Zenyatta can't save you from getting one shot. Other reasons to pick Zenyatta are basically, your team is not doing enough damage. Discord will make them do a lot more damage, because it's just really good for that one. Zenyatta also synergizes really well with flankers, because the Harmony Orb, it can heal you out of line of sight, which is something that he has uniquely over all of the other healers. So he synergizes very well with support, flankers as a support. So those would be those are the kind of things you want to consider if you're going to consider when changing to Zenyatta, pretty much. Ultimates will be the big one for me, as far as, like, which one is actually better than the other. Just because they both accomplish two different things. They both do the same thing, but they do it in different ways. I could have killed that guy, what the fuck? Anyway, whatever. We're talking about Overwatch today. So, next up was, are the PTR Reaper buffs the wrong buffs? And this one was a little bit more involved and had some specific, like, verbiage in it. So, Future Me is going to include a screenshot of that one. Aren't you, Future Me? He's not going to forget this time. Definitely not. So, the gist of it was that, though, that Reaper will be stronger in lower SR and not really be affected in higher SR. Which is not great for the idea of the buffs, because the idea of buffing Reaper is no doubt it'll make goats less good, but it's true, the post makes a good point that it'll be more of a thing in lower SR than higher SR still, but that's just kind of Reaper as a hero at the same time. Like, Reaper is one of those heroes that, does a lot better against disorganized teams, pretty much. The more organized the team is, the less good Reaper is, pretty much. And that's always gonna make him better at lower SR than higher SR, because the higher you get, the better people are at organizing themselves. And if we're talking about pro play, then, you know, it's really hard, isn't it? The most organized setting possible. So, yeah, they're not really the right buffs, but I also think if we're gonna try and get rid of goats, Reaper is not the way to do it, because Reaper's never been, like, the goats counter, right? So unless you're gonna do some really, like, nasty buffs to Reaper, he still isn't about to start countering goats suddenly. Because it's the combination of heroes specifically that are commonly in goats is just not very good for him, pretty much. They just kind of, like, it's not that easy for Reaper to actually kill those people, because they're, like, movement-based or have crowd control, which kind of fucks up Reaper, along with the general disorganizedness. Now, this is a buff that Reaper players have been waiting for about 10,000 years, which is for Shadow Step to not be completely worthless, pretty much, because Shadow Step is not a very good ability, presently, and it looks to get a lot better suddenly, like, actually usable, which is pretty incredible, frankly. I never pointed out which side I'm on. If you're looking for which side I'm on, it's the one that starts Android 21 and has Vegito in the middle. Should point that one out at the start, really, but hey, got there in the end. That's me. On the left, presently. So, yeah, the post's correct, that I don't think they are the correct buffs, but I don't think Reaper's the way to go for what they're particularly looking for, so it's just, you know, they gotta look into buffing a different hero, one that actually counters goats, if that's what they're going for. Because that's doubtlessly the intention of buffing Reaper. Oh, those tank heroes are getting played an awful lot. What do we do about that? Well, obviously, we buff the Tank Buster hero. But if we actually were trying to get rid of goats, we would want to address it from the angle of, like, nerfing those heroes. Or if we don't want to nerf anybody, then we want to buff the actual goats counters, which are Sombra. It's also been Doomfist, and though Doomfist's, you know, I don't want Doomfist to be good again, frankly. Just to be perfectly honest with you, God, that was terrible. Or Anna. Anna is good on goats, but also good against goats at the same time, so that's another way. I didn't need to use all that. I'm a crazy person. So yeah, true story, but I think they're approaching it from the wrong angle regardless. And yeah, it'll be pretty bad for lower rank players if Reaper ends up getting really strong, because you can just hold down W and mouse 1 and walk through the entire enemy team. So, next up is, what abilities are unaffected by damage boost? And pretty much it's, anything that creates another entity is unaffected by the damage boost. So, Riptire is unaffected by damage boost because the tire is a separate entity to Junkrat. Dragon Strike is unaffected by damage boost because the initial arrow fired is affected by damage boost, but the dragon it summons is a separate entity and is unaffected by damage boost. It was until kind of recently, and they changed it, so it is no longer affected by damage boost. Torbjorn's turrets, Symmetra's turrets, unaffected by damage boost. What else is unaffected by damage boost? Those are pretty much it. Hammond's Mines, separate entity to Hammond, unaffected by damage boost. Those are the only ones I can think of offhand. And there was a specific one in that as well, which is, does Anna's dot tick for the entire, get the damage boost for the entire tick? And it should do, because it's only the way they change the damage boost is that it affects, the abilities once they are, as they're fired, rather, you have to be damage boosting them when they're fired for it to affect them. So it should be damage boosted the entire time, basically. So yes, it should affect every tick, even if you stop damage boosting them. The one exception to the separate entity is Moira's damage orb. That is a separate entity to Moira, but it is actually affected by damage boost. And it makes a very satisfying noise. It is very nice. Oh, self-destruct, unaffected by damage boost, because it is a separate entity to Baby D.Va. Fun fact with D.Va and Baby D.Va, if D.Va loses her mech and you nano-boost Baby D.Va, right? She gets back in her mech again while damage boosted. If she loses her mech quickly enough, because the mech doesn't become damage boosted, or nano-boosted, rather, but if you, if D.Va comes out of her mech quickly enough after being nano-boosted, she's actually still nano-boosted when she comes back out again. Like, she's nano-boosted inside of the mech, interestingly. This, by the way, is gonna be the throw of a fucking century right here. Because I'm basically just trying to cheese the guy to death at this point, and it really just didn't work out for me. So yeah, that's the gist right there. Next up was, quote unquote, is Soldier Mr. Meta again? And no, he's not Mr. Meta again. But he is a lot better than he was. By which I mean he's basically comparable to all the other hitscan DPS. I don't think he is the, best hitscan DPS, because I still think that's McCree, or Widow if you're really fucking good at her. But he's a lot better. He's definitely, like, on par with the other hitscan DPS now. He's definitely, he's been a lot more popular since. And this is always the way with Soldier, is they always perform, like, the smallest little tweaks imaginable to Soldier, right? Like a 0.2 second reduction on, when he can fire again after sprinting, and they boosted his damage by 1 per shot, right? And then just suddenly like that, bam, good again. Isn't it incredible? It doesn't take a lot for Soldier, does it? It's always a very fine tweak one direction or the other way, and then that changes it again. So no, I don't think he's Mr. Meta again, but I do think he is definitely more viable than he was previously, because he was pretty much the worst of all of the hitscan DPS up until the balance patch, and I definitely think he's pickable again now. I mean, he was always pickable. There was no reason you couldn't pick Soldier. He was still fine, outside of, like, extremely high SR or pro play, but you can definitely pick the guy. Like, he's definitely better than he was previously. Next up was how to play better in Silver. And this is the one I thought I had more context for, because the context for this one was the person plays Zarya, Sombra, Zenyatta, Orisa, and Moira. And my issue with playing in Silver is that a lot of these heroes are very dependent on other heroes playing well. Right? Like, Zarya requires her team to do stuff, right? Like, you can hard carry Zarya, but your team requires, like, a kind of a level of competency. Because you can't solo a team with your ultimate in the way some people can, right? You need your teammates around to reliably build charge. You need the enemy team to be kind of reliable in a way to build charge off of your bubbles, so... in a weird way, she kind of needs her enemies to be sort of competent at the same time. So, Sombra very dependent on her teammates, because Emp is the best ult in the game, but you need your teammates, because otherwise Emp is pretty much useless, right? Like, Sombra by herself doesn't accomplish very much. She does need her teammates. Orisa, same thing, needs help from her teammates. Zenyatta kind of requires his teammates, but as far as supports go, he's got a lot more agency, because you can personally just click on people. So tying kind of back into the question earlier, basically these are just not heroes I recommend to play. And I believe they said their main ones they played were Zarya and Sombra if they needed to pick a DPS. Should have seen that coming. So, like, if you're gonna pick a tank in Silver, I think it should be Winston or D.Va. Because they're just so good at punishing people for doing dumb shit. And they don't require much skill to actually play them, right? But they do build up fundamental aspects of the game just by playing them. Oh, he tried so hard. He tried so hard. He wanted that blue life off Vegito so bad. And he's gonna get it. Yeah, so I don't recommend playing those heroes in Silver because they require too much on their teammates. You can't assume your teammates are gonna play well, pretty much, until you get to, I think, Gold. Once you get, like, a little ways into Gold, your teammates get to a baseline level of competency that you can start picking heroes that are more dependent on your teammates, like Mercy. Very common question for Mercy mains, right? Can't carry in Gold in Silver and Bronze, what do? I main Mercy, by the way. Don't main Mercy. In those SRs, Mercy needs her teammates more than any other hero in the game, pretty much. Is that gonna kill? Yeah, I could have killed if I just did the level 1. Whatever. Anyway. I'm watching this back now. I'm watching as I'm talking. I'm like, God, I'm so bad at this fucking video game. Jesus Christ. Not as bad. Jeez, I don't do that, though. Oh my god. Yeah, so I don't recommend playing those heroes in silver. Let me repeat that one about 9 times more, and then we'll be good to go, pretty much. Play the more independent heroes, pretty much. Roadhog. Roadhog's a really good one to play as far as tanks go as well. Very independent hero, and very good at punishing people, does DPS. Roadhog's really good for lower SRs as well. So, Roadhog, add Roadhog to that list right there. And really, like, don't play around your team at all. Just focus on, like, punishing the enemy team for making mistakes, because they're gonna make a shit ton of mistakes in silver. And I mean, you know, people make a shit ton of mistakes in all SRs, don't get me wrong, every ELO's ELO hell. But in silver, people will be making a lot of mistakes, so don't worry too much about playing around your team in that kind of SR range. Just, like, worry about, playing around the enemy team, pretty much, because you can just punish them for doing dumb shit. They aren't gonna know how to punish you properly, so you can play, like, way more aggressively than you'd normally be able to get away with. And, you can just worry about punishing them, and then your team doesn't need to do as much. This is why I also recommend supports like Moira and Zenyatta. They can punish people for doing dumb shit, and they can, like, kill people personally. They don't need their teammates to necessarily kill them as well, right? And Zenyatta makes his teammates a lot better. I'm kind of mad all of that worked, to be honest with you, right there. Yeah, so those are, like, my main things for silver, honestly. Don't worry about your team, play around the enemy team, and try to play the independent heroes that are good at punishing mistakes from the enemy team. Winston's a really good one. They don't know what to do. They panic so bad when you pick Winston and dive on them, even just, like, decently well. They aren't gonna help each other. They don't know what to do. They panic when they see Winston, pretty much. So that's the best I got for you in silver, really. Those are my go-to tips. Also work on ult execution, because ult execution starts getting more important around that point, I think. Though less important compared to the other points, but ult execution is something to work on at that kind of range. Next up was, if you are trying to save a person with Defense Matrix, is it better to Defense Matrix the shooter or the person being shot at? And it kind of depends, but if you're specifically trying to Defense Matrix somebody to try and keep someone alive, you're better off Defense Matrixing the person you're trying to save, because there's always more people that can shoot at that person, right? Like, Defense Matrix, if you put the Defense Matrix over the person who's in danger, no one can shoot that person, right? Whereas if you put Defense Matrix over the person doing the shooting, only that person can't shoot them anymore. So if you're Defense Matrixing specifically to save someone, you should hold it over the person, because it protects you from all 6 people. Whereas only holding it over one person protects them from that one person. Though, you know, if you're Defense Matrixing somebody's ult, that's a different story, because then you Defense Matrix the person, yeah, but the question from this Reddit post was specifically, if you're trying to save somebody with Defense Matrix, is it better? It is better to hold it over the person, because then no one can shoot them. Next off was, as an off-tank, where do I go when our main tank is positioned poorly? And let's be real, we're talking about Reinhardt players, aren't we? You know, we're talking about the bad Reinhardt players. And, it's very context sensitive, which of course is, most questions, isn't it? But, we'll go down the list of, like, the off-tanks, right? So, Zarya, D.Va, and, Roadhog. We won't include Hammond, who I'm consider more of an off-tank than a main tank, but, we won't include him. We'll include, like, the typical off-tanks. So, if you're playing Zarya, you can just kind of poke from really far away. You don't exactly have to stand up with the Reinhardt, right? Because positioned poorly can mean a couple of different things, right? We'll assume he's not being suicidal. We'll assume he's just standing in stupid places, right? Like, he's not playing around corners, he's just kind of standing out in the open, no cover, right? That kind of stuff. You don't have to go stand with him. you can just, like, as Zarya, stand off and use cover still, and just poke around corners with your right click and, like, bubble him, you know, harass the enemy team. Like, you don't need to go stand with Reinhardt. You going and standing with him doesn't necessarily do anything except make you also be in a kind of bad position as well. So don't feel too pressured to go stand with them as Zarya, pretty much, because you don't have to. You've got range on right click, and you can bubble the guy to try and keep him alive when he does, like, really dumb shit, you know? If he's being out, like, this is just a standing thing, right? I'll say this just right now, because everybody's just picturing the Reinhardt players that just charge in completely, not worrying about anything else, right? If the Reinhardt player is outright playing suicidally, don't follow the guy, right? Like, just, if he dies because he did something extraordinarily stupid, that's not your fault. That's his fault, right? People feel pressured in this kind of situation. I have to go with the guy, because if I don't go with the guy, he's definitely gonna die, and then he's gonna blame me for it. I gotta try and keep him alive. If he dies because he did something really stupid, that is not your fault. Don't worry about it. That's his fault. All you can do is try and keep the guy alive, but don't go and commit suicide with him, right? If he's doing dumb shit and dies for it, that's his fault. It's not your fault. Standing thing for support players as well. Doesn't matter if it's the tank or a DPS, anybody. If somebody's doing dumb shit and they die for it, not your fault. Don't feel bad about it. Not your fault they died. So going back to just positioning badly, right? So don't go stand with him, Zarya. You've got range. Your bubble's ranged. You don't need to go stand with him. D.Va, same kind of deal. You don't necessarily have to go stand with Reinhardt, but D.Va's got the option to just kind of leave freely whenever she wants to, pretty much. So you can go and stand more aggressively with him, and it's less likely to end badly for you, just because you can leave if something bad happens, pretty much. So D.Va, same kind of deal. You can still pretty much just go about accomplishing your own stuff, but you can go stand with him and not worry about it too much. But I recommend just kind of like standing off to the side, still poking a little bit if you can. Like, D.Va can do some ranged harass, you know, it's never going to be huge, but she can do something, so there's that. And just focus on, like, focus on the enemy team more. Like, watch for people making mistakes over there, and try to punish them for that. Try and do all the usual D.Va stuff, you know. Peel with defense matrix, watch for flankers, completely cockblock ultimates, and worry about punishing people who are out of position. Things like that. Classic D.Va stuff. Roadhog's pretty much the worst one to be, I think, in this kind of position. Just because he can't really do a lot to help the tank if they do something, like, really, really bad, pretty much. The most you can do is try and hook people. I'm so bad. That was so free. Jesus, I just dropped the combo at, like, the worst point. All he can do is, like, try and hook someone, and then that's kind of it, as far as, like, helping the other person goes. So, like, I do think Roadhog's the worst one to be in that kind of position. Just for that reason. But, same deal still as the other two. You don't have to go and stand with them still. Roadhog's got range on his right click. So you can, like, poke at the enemy team. No big deal. Still worry about, like, hooking people. If anything, if you're playing Roadhog and your tank is doing bad things, you pretty much want to try and focus on capitalizing on the opportunities that in and of itself will make for you. Because if your tank is positioning badly, then the enemy team is more likely to play aggressively and try and punish your Reinhardt. So you can just kind of take advantage of them playing more aggressively to try and, like, find stragglers, find people that are further back than the other ones, try and hook out some of the people that are playing more aggro so that you can try and get some picks off of them if they're a little bit more split up. So you can, same deal as the others, and just try and, like, focus on capitalizing opportunities that'll make for you. Because if they're playing more aggro, they're more likely to make mistakes than they were previously. And you can just kind of focus on punishing that as Roadhog with your hook, pretty much. As far as helping the guy goes, Roadhog's pretty limited. All you can do is try and hook one person off him. Maybe ult, that's kinda it. And, that's pretty much it. Like, if your main tank is positioning poorly, there isn't a lot you can do for the guy, honestly, other than that. And, you know, it's something that people worry a lot about, like, oh, what do I do when the main tank is playing badly? What can I do? And they really think it's, like, their fault the guy died, basically, and they get, like, super anxious about it. It's not your fault if the guy dies. If somebody dies because they made a mistake, because they were doing something bad, it's not your fault. It's their fault. You don't have to feel bad about that. All you can do is, like, try and help the guy as much as you can. Try and make the best of a bad situation, right? Like, try and make sure you aren't the problem, pretty much. But if the guy's doing dumb shit and he dies for it, don't take it personally, dog. That's his fault that he was doing the bad shit, the dumb shit. That's not your fault. Don't beat yourself up over it. Just make the best that you can out of it. And now we've actually only got one question left, and this one was kind of involved, so Future Me is also going to include a screenshot, isn't he, Future Me? And this one was just, quote, "What is wrong with me?" And there's more context for it, so that's why we got the screenshot on screen, hopefully. But the basic gist of it was, the guy is just really overwhelmed playing the game, pretty much, and all the things you kind of have to keep track of, especially as you climb. And very overwhelming for the person, and affected them emotionally, pretty much. And, like, just baseline, dude, it's a video game. If you're not having fun, maybe don't play the video game. Maybe just, like, take a break, play something else, right? Like, if you're ever in a position where you're, like, genuinely, like, emotionally distressed playing a video game, don't play the video game, dude. Life's too short. It's not worth it. But as far as, like, feeling overwhelmed by everything, yeah, like, they play Ana. So, you know, Ana is one of the hardest heroes to play in the game, I think, just because she's got, like, a mechanical requirement and a very heavy, like, meta-knowledge requirement at the same time, right? Like, Ana's got a lot of shit to keep track of, and she needs to actually play the game well, right? So Ana's definitely one of the hardest heroes to play in the game. I think you could debate that she is the hardest hero to play in the game. But I actually think that's Widowmaker just because of the sheer raw mechanical requirements she has. And if you're feeling overwhelmed by the number of things that you have to keep track of, like, basically I would advise not trying to galaxy brain the whole thing at once. You want to try and break it down to more, compound elements, pretty much. Like, worry about one thing at a time, right? So, like, people worry about, like, oh, I have a lot of trouble, like, ult tracking while doing everything else, right? So, if that's personally something that you struggle with, ult tracking, just push that one really far down the order of operations, right? Whatever you identify as being a particular sticking point for you, just push it down the chain of events, right? Push it further down the things you worry about. So, like, worry about, like, positioning first, because positioning is one of the most important things, right? And then you go, alright, so now my positioning's kind of under control, so now we branch out a little bit from that point, right? I'm in a good position, it's gonna be hard for me to die from here, I'm getting good value from this position, that's kind of taken care of, right? Now branch out a little bit. Now we start thinking, alright, so, what's my teammates' ultimates doing at this point, right? This is a lot easier to worry about than, like, the enemy ultimates, right? So, what are my teammates doing ultimate-wise now, right? Like, have we got anything we can combo with? Can I worry about, like, maybe trying to coordinate something with one of my teammates at this point? Like, I'm playing Ana, right? So I can start worrying about, like, if I'm in a good position, I can start worrying about, like, coordinating my ultimate now with other people, rather than just, and then, right, so work out just everything that you're struggling with, just break it down a little bit more, right? Don't try and do it all at the same time. Figure out, like, a flow chart that works for you. So, like, I always worry about positioning first, because that's kind of pretty much the most important part. and I play Reinhardt a lot, so at that point, after I've got, like, the positioning under control, at that point I start worrying about the enemy Reinhardt's ultimate, specifically. I don't worry about the other people's ultimates that much. I start trying to figure out what the other Reinhardt's ult charge is at, right? And I don't worry about the others, because my job as Reinhardt is the other Reinhardt's Earth Shatter. So that's very high up the list, the flowchart for me of things I'm keeping track of. And it actually takes precedent over, like, worrying about my own ultimate, right? Because I'll go positioning, enemy Reinhardt's ult charge, my Earth Shatter, and, like, trying to land that. And then I start breaking it out for more. Then I'll start, like, taking track of the other people's ultimates, right? I'll start thinking more about what they're doing. Then I'll start, at that point, worrying about, like, comboing a little bit more with my teammates, because Earth Shatter doesn't necessarily need to combo with anybody to be effective, so I'll worry about tracking other scary ultimates before I actually worry about coordinating my ultimate. And so, just kind of work out the flowchart that works for you, and whatever you find personally very strenuous to figure out or keep track of, just shove it further down the list of priorities, right? Worry about the other stuff first, and once you've gotten all of that stuff taken care of, then start worrying about the thing that requires a little bit more mental bandwidth for you to figure out. Don't try and keep track of it all at the same time, because that's a really good way to just overwhelm yourself and just completely fail to keep track of anything, right? And, you know, as you get better at it, everything starts getting a little bit easier to do, right? Like, as you figure out these things, get more accustomed to playing the game, it all becomes a little bit more muscle memory, right? Positioning over time becomes a little bit more muscle memory. You don't have to think about it as actively. And that's a really big one. Once you get you get positioning more into muscle memory, rather than something you have to consciously think about a lot of the time, you've got a lot more mental bandwidth at that point to worry about other things, because positioning is something that you're doing the entire game, and there's so many factors that go into it at any one point in time. So, you know, once that becomes muscle memory for you, it becomes a lot easier to do other things, because then suddenly you don't have to dictate so much time thinking about that one thing. But just break it down and, like, you know, figure out your list of priorities. So for Ana, it might be a little bit different. You might want to shove positioning, comboing your ultimates a lot higher up the chain than I would as Reinhardt, because it's a bigger deal for Ana. Ana has really, her cooldowns are really important, so you'd want to put, like, cooldown management. What am I doing with my cooldowns? Looking for opportunities for that a little bit higher up the list of priorities as well than, like, a Reinhardt would, because Bio Grenade and Trank, or Sleep Dart, are a lot better than, or a lot more important than Fire Strike and Charge are. So it's more important to worry about those. And just break it down a little bit more like that. Worry about the incremental pieces at a time rather than everything all at once, because that's a good way to get yourself overwhelmed. And that's pretty much what I got for you. And it just gets a little easier. Every time you do something, it gets a little bit more muscle memory. And then eventually each little step in the chain of events that you go through gets a little bit easier. So over time, you get better at going down the flowchart for you over time, and then you'll start getting to the things you're a little bit worse at faster. But hey, then you're getting better at the things you're worse at because you're getting to them faster, so you're spending more time working on them, right? And that's pretty much what I got for you, and that's actually all of the questions I've got for you. So now we're just gonna watch the rest of this game, pretty much. And this was actually a pretty bad one to pick right at the end, I realized, because I played like 9 games, well, more than that probably. I played a lot of games with this guy I'm playing against right now, and they all ended up being very fucking long games, actually, because me and him are about equivalent in terms of skill, but we both have got no fucking clue what to do in neutral, pretty much. Like, this guy, he doesn't know how to defend, basically. Like, he's very clearly very panicky when defending, because he just guard cancels, like, pretty much immediately. This was the guy from the very start of the video as well, who, like, guard canceled pretty much immediately after getting stuck in a block string. And, I got better at punishing that as time goes by, because the way you can't counter that, people guard canceling constantly, is just, stagger your buttons a little bit more, because guard cancel is super, super unsafe if you block it. So you just wait for the guy to do it, then you block it, and then you whap him, basically. And there, I could have killed him, but I failed to do so. Grabbed over in the corner by myself, because grab is the same, you do a motion and a grab. I got a button for it. The button I use is the same as grab, pretty much. So you do a motion and it, but if you fuck up the motion, you just grab over in the corner by yourself and you look real sad. Real sad. Yeah, so I got better at punishing that as time went by. Defending is very scary to do. I'm a little mad that worked, to be honest with you. Defending is very scary in fighters because the game is very heavily focused towards offense. Like, it favors the attacker a lot more. It's gotten better in terms of this. The defender used to have, like, no option, really, other than just sit there and block and wait for them to kind of fuck up their block string, pretty much. And I gotta block some real nasty mix-ups in this game. We do say, in the community, that the one that starts blocking first is the one that lost. So it's very scary, so I don't blame the guy for being scared to do it. I don't think I needed to use 3 bars to do that. No, I definitely didn't. Could have used 2 and, like, definitely done it instead. Doesn't matter. I'm bad. I don't know how to do any of the really optimized combos, so everything for me is always, like, super ghetto, pretty much. Like, I'll do a really basic combo, and that's it. That's all I've got for you. It is also, whenever you do the teleport behind the guy, it's a vanish attack, is what it's called. Whenever you do that, it is kind of a risk to just stare at the guy, because it is technically still your turn. They can do some stuff to defend against it, but it is still technically your turn. And if you just look at the guy, then you kind of risk giving that up. But if you just look at the guy, people love to, like, reflect. Or this guy's playing Jiren right now. Jiren's got a lot of counters that can work against a vanish. So if you just, like, teleport behind the guy, or do a vanish, and then just stare at the guy, if he does any of the counters or reflect, he actually fucked that up. I didn't do that fast enough, and he recovered in time to block, but he pushed the button and got hit again. I'll finish that train of thought. If you do a vanishing attack and then just look at the guy, if he reflects or does a counter as Jiren, then you get to just do a super easy counter, because you can just, like, stare at him for half a second, crouching medium, and then you get, like, the most optimal starter for a combo for any character in the game, pretty much. So it is a risk, but if they're playing like Jiren, or you notice they like reflecting a lot, it's good to do. They like to backstep a lot, dash after him, then do it. Easy peasy. So yeah, there you go. Got some fighter's advice right at the end. How about that? So, there you go. So thank you very much for watching if you did. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to answer. If you haven't already, you can join our Discord and ask questions more directly and have a conversation about them, or just shitpost with us. I've started streaming on Twitch Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, 7 p.m. EST till 10 or 11 EST, depending on how things go. There's a link to the channel in the description. Come follow. Good times. Hopefully. If you managed to make it all the way through the video and somehow still enjoyed it, please like the video and subscribe for more content of middling quality in the future, and I hope you found the video helpful.